So hi again, and welcome to part 3 of our Thriving in Relationships series. And today's topic is one of my favorite. It's how to say goodbye to shame, the #1 destroyer of relationships, of love, connection. So a lot of people, when I share this topic, they're like, what do you mean? But isn't shame healthy? Don't we need a healthy dose of it? And aren't the Jewish people supposed to be a nation of Baishanim, Rachmanim, and Gomle Chasadim? Like, we're supposed to be Baishanim, which means bashful. So how does, now Shterna, very nice. You're going off the deep end. You're going into pop psychology. What is this business with shame? The Baal Tanya, the Alter Rebbe, said that the 4 worst words, the most destructive words a person could possibly say is mi ani, uma ani. Who am I and what am I worth? And why is that? It's because if we don't own our awesomeness, if we don't own the dignity, the value of Hashem's presence within us, then what do we do with it? We have no sense of accountability, no sense of responsibility, and we don't value our impact on other people. We feel less than other people, and that all of that puts distance between us and other people. So that's why I'm not coming here from a place of anything other than the opposite of owning our dignity and our value and our worthiness as Hashem's daughters, as our majestic, awesome selves, is shame. Rabbi Guerilla, who was a very, very respected Rav in Kfar Chabad for many years, when the village Kfar Chabad in Eretz Yisrael was founded many years ago, and he was asked to be a Rav, he came to the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he said, "Who am I to be the Rav of such a respected community? After all, this is the Rebbe's branch in Eretz Yisrael. It deserves, this community, this village deserves somebody of great stature, somebody really respectable." And the Rebbe looked at him and said, "Okay, so get more stature, get more respectability, be more respectable." And the Rebbe was not playing games. The Rebbe wasn't telling him to go get more stars sewn onto his chart or onto his lapel, gold stars. The Rebbe wasn't telling him to go get another aliyah like that or a better suit. What the Rebbe meant is, okay, so own more of your respect, own more of your inherent worthiness, of your inherent dignity, of your inherent value. When we do kaparis, which, by the way, ladies, it's Erev Rosh Hashanah, officially, okay? The minute Tisha B'Av is over, as Blas Shain Achuvavin, the breeze of Teshuvah is in the air, there's a breeze, and it's Erev Rosh Hashanah. So on Erev Yom Kippur, when we do kaparis, as part of that, we ask Hashem, if there are thousands of angels who are prosecuting angels and they're speaking out against me, but there's one who's defending me, you listen to the one. You listen to the one. And people ask on this, like, why? How does that make any sense? What do you mean? If there's thousands saying you did wrong, thousands of voices are speaking truth, negative things about you, and they're true. Okay, why should Hashem listen to the one voice? And I heard this question echoed in so many people's responses that still, okay, so I know that last week we talked about the visual between the frame and the painting inside the frame, right? What's more value? If the painting has more value, we say it's a painting in a frame. Either it's a frame that has a painting or it's a painting that happens to be in a frame. Whichever one has more value, that's the main. So somebody asked, well, what about all the other parts of me? What about all the other qualities? How does that one goodness put other things in perspective if those other things are really bad? And so this is the same question that we have about these words that we say to Hashem. Why should Hashem listen to the one angel if there are thousands speaking truth against us? And the answer is because all the thousands are speaking against, are speaking about things that we did, mistakes that we made, behaviors that we engaged in. But that one defendant is saying who we are. That one is just representing us, the fact that we are Hashem's children, the fact that we are the fact that we are carriers of Hashem's light. That's all. And that is a truth that has the power to override anything else. And that's why when we say to Hashem, Hashem, don't listen to the thousands, listen to the one, we're being very rational. We're being 100% rational. And there are so many other stories and examples and ideas that connect to this. But I want to jump right into that was just to justify, to explain why we're talking about this topic. Because in every moment in our lives, we are either we're engaging in our lives from one of two places, okay? Either it's a place of dignity and value and worthiness, or it's a place of the opposite. 99% shame, 85% shame, 0% shame, whatever it is, whatever space is not being filled with our sense of dignity of being Hashem's children is filled with the shame of the opposite, of the emptiness, of the void, where our true respect needs to be, where our true respect belongs. So in every moment of our lives, we're either engaging from the place of our true self, or we are engaging from the place of our invented self. One of my favorite stories that you're all familiar with already, but I'll just say it quickly, is for those of you who are new here. A man once came with his teenage son to the Baal HaTanya, and he said to the Baal HaTanya that before his son came in, he said to the Baal HaTanya, my son really needs help. He needs guidance. He's off the beaten path. He was busy with horseback riding. He was busy, doing things that were not in line with Torah values, and he wasn't interested in anything. In fact, he only came along to the Baal HaTanya to do his father a favor. So he comes into the Baal HaTanya, and he's dressed in his horse riding gear. And of course, the horse is parked outside. And the Baal HaTanya asks him, how are you? How's everything? And then he asks about his horse. And how's the horse? And he says, oh, this horse is something special. And he started describing how fast it goes and how strong it is. Nothing can get in its way. It just, tramples over any obstacles, or it jumps over them. It's the best horse you could imagine. Fastest and strongest. And so the Baal HaTanya says, but isn't it true? Like, what would happen if all that energy and strength, couldn't that be also used against you? Like, for example, if you take a wrong turn on the road, it could take you very strong, very far. It could take you very far, very fast. And so without missing a beat, this young man who is very smart says, okay, it's okay, because as soon as I become aware, I could just turn it right back and go back onto the path where I want to go. So the Baal HaTanya said, he looked at him and he said, Azman chaptzich, oh, Azman chaptzich, when you become aware, Azman chaptzich, Azman chaptzich. He said it a few times until this young man fainted. He had a sudden awareness that, oh my, the path that I have taken in my life is not where I want to be going. And I'm going far and fast in a wrong direction. And so that moment of awareness was a miracle that he experienced in the presence of such holiness and purity. He was able to discover, his own soul and reconnect with his own soul. But how do we do that? How do we do that in our own lives? How do we do that in our day-to-day practice? Because we know, all of us, we talked about this already, that we want to have that awareness, but what if I don't have it? What if I didn't grow up with it? What if the voice of shame is bigger than the voice of my dignity? What if the voice of my invented self is so practiced and it's so true for me in my experience? How do I let go of it? How do I move past it? So our lost sense of awesome identity, the lost sense of our awesome identity is the root of all our toxicity, the fuel of our ego, and our invented self. It leads to self-pity and no responsibility for our choices and feeling stuck. So the opposite of our true self is shame. And so if we want to let go of that shame, to be able to reconnect and restore the love and connection wherever shame was getting in our way, the way to do that is to embrace our true self, to embrace our neshama's worthiness and dignity and make it for real our own. I want to share a story of a person who I'm going to call Basi. Okay, Basi was sitting in her kitchen on Friday morning and she was peeling potatoes. And her and her husband had been dealing, one of their teenage daughters was struggling socially in her school, and they were seriously, they were trying to create a plan of action. She had no friends. It was in, I think she was in 9th grade or in 10th grade, and she had no friends, and they were worried, what is this going to do? So Basi, as she's peeling the potatoes and, babysitting the oil or whatever it is, that was in the frying pan at the same time, her husband calls and said, can we talk about Basi? Can we talk about Rena for a few minutes? And she says, sure. So he says, I've been thinking about it, and really, what's the big deal that she doesn't have friends? When I was in high school, I didn't really have friends, and I came out just fine. I really think, it's a good school, and you know what? She'll push through. She's uncomfortable, but she'll be. Anyways, Basi exploded. What do you know about girls? What do you know about social life? What do you know about any of this? Her husband was quiet for a long minute, and he hung up the phone. And as he hung up the phone, Basi realized, okay, I blew it. I just really insulted him. I should have heard him out. I should have, I should have given him the space to be a father. He has an opinion. He has a right to have an opinion. What did I do? And she felt bad. Now, in feeling bad about what she said, she wasn't ready to let go of her opinion. I mean, she said, as a woman, she told me, as a woman, I know that socially, for a girl to have friends is a really very, it's an essential need. She needs to feel like she belongs. She needs to feel like she's one of the gang. It's not okay for her to just go through another week and not have any friends. We've got to help her feel settled. But and she said, it's true. My husband doesn't know what it's like to be a teenage girl because he never was a teenage girl. And the truth is that he's not so social. Until today, he doesn't have friends. And he's fine. He's happy. He has his chevra that he learns with, that he, goes to shul with, but he doesn't have a friend that he really can share the journey of his life with, like really unburden his soul and be honest with and open with and discuss and hash out his feelings and his thoughts and his dreams and his disappointments. He doesn't have that till today. So of course, how's he supposed to relate to a girl who has these needs? But still, but she said, but even though she wasn't ready to let go of her opinion, that his opinion was off the mark, she said, I realized I was wrong. I cut him off. I interrupted him. I totally invalidated him. So a little bit later, when her husband came home, he was sulking, and she could hear it, and even just the footsteps as he walked through the door and the way he dropped down the mail. And she turned right to him and said, I am so sorry. Remember what happened before? I realized it was really rude of me to just interrupt you and to invalidate what you were saying. I happen to have a different opinion, but it was so wrong. You're her father, and I actually very much also value the fact that you were thinking about it. And you reached out to me, you called me. And you're caring. I so much appreciate that I have a partner that I can really partner with, that I can trust, that I can rely on, who's just as much in this as me. His face lit up, and he said, "It's okay." And they had a beautiful Shabbos. And as Basi told me the story, she said, in the past, this same kind of story would happen so differently. She would be annoyed. Why is he in such a bad mood? Okay, what did I do? So I said the truth. He doesn't like the truth, doesn't like my opinion. What's his problem? Well, why can't he just grow up and recognize that he doesn't know everything? Okay. And so she wouldn't tolerate his mood. And it would just, she would be angry at him for being in a bad mood. And that one little mishap, that one misstep will lead to another one and another one. And she said it could go on for weeks. Now, I could relate to that. And if you be honest, I'm sure you could relate to that as well. And it's not just in marriage. Of course, in a marriage, you're so invested, so more of this could happen and it could stretch out for longer, and the wounds run so much deeper and the damage is so much more pervasive. But I think it could happen in any relationship. And it does. So this to me is when I was trying to think of a story that epitomizes the healing from shame to dignity, I thought of this story because it's a true story. And it was her healing. And she told me, she's like, a few years ago, if this would happen, I would, number one, I would not be able to accept any responsibility for my mistakes because I would be so upset at his part that I couldn't even have space to look at mine. Yeah, I would say I'm sorry, but I didn't really mean it because what he was doing was so much more wrong than what I was doing. So in the place of dignity, number one, we're able to accept full-fledged responsibility for our behavior. All the angles of it. It's right in this way, but it's maybe hurtful to somebody else. So we're able to accept full-fledged responsibility for our behavior, but not just responsibility for our behavior, also for our impact on other people, which is which it might be different, even if I didn't mean to make a mistake, but that person experienced it as hurt. Number two, we're able to give the people in our life full space to process their emotions in their way. When Basi shared the story, she said, like in the past, and by the way, of course, Basi is not her real name, okay? When she said that in the past, when her husband would be in a bad mood, she took it as a personal offense. Like, hello, what did I do that you're being in such a bad mood for so long? How dare you act this way? How dare you be so heavy when all I did was interrupt you? Stop being such a baby. And her anger at him for his being in a bad mood was part of that fuel. So number one, we're able to accept full-fledged responsibility. Number two, we're able to respect other people's space and give them space to process, to be in a bad mood if they need to be. And number three, to respect other people's needs. You see, if her husband's insult, if her husband being in a bad mood if she, from a place of not having security and dignity and value, it's like her husband's bad mood would wipe away her whole deck of cards would be out the window. Her whole self would be out the window. There would be nothing left. And so she wouldn't have space to understand him. But because she had so much dignity, because she had that true sense of, I'm good. So she's able to look at her mistakes, give him the space to be in a bad mood if he needs to be, respect his needs, because your need to have a role in my daughter's life your need to have an opinion doesn't really take away from my security of knowing that I can also have an opinion and it's okay. And then this is not from part of this story, but in the bigger picture, when we own our dignity, we seek opportunities to learn and to grow. We realize I have so much to give in the world. I have so much to give the world. How will I shine? Where can I contribute? What's getting in my way of showing up with my true self? And we also are willing to take risks, because from the place of our true self, it's okay if I fail. Even if I fail, I'm good. And because I have so much goodness in me, not trying is even worse than failing. Not trying is even worse than failing. Okay. So, we're talking about plugging into something that's very, very real. I want to share one more little story that maybe will add a layer of meaning to all of this. And I heard this story from somebody who heard it from her grandmother, who was a Holocaust survivor. Her grandmother survived the Holocaust together with her older sister. And her grandmother said that one time, very early on in the war, they were running in the forest, and the little sister was afraid. The night was falling, and the older sister said, come, climb up on the tree, and we will spend the night on this big branch high up in the tree. And the little girl said, no, I'm afraid. It's so dark. And her sister said, don't worry, it's okay. Hashem is stronger than the night and bigger than your fear. And I thought that line, Hashem is stronger than the night and bigger than your fear. And she said those words, remembering that Hashem is stronger than the night and bigger than her fear, kept her through the war. So what we're talking about, holding on to something that's so big in a good way, that's so strong, that can carry us, it's indestructible, it's unchangeable, it's unconditional, it's even untouchable. That's the kind of dignity we have. So just like Hashem is stronger than the night and bigger than our fear, or stronger than the night, I forgot the exact words, right? Our neshama is bigger than our mistakes and stronger than our failure, stronger than any of our weaknesses. Our dignity is stronger than anything else about us. And that's what we want to hold on to. When that is true, when that's true for us, we're able to take responsibility for our behavior, learn, grow, shine. A lot of people were concerned. A lot of the questions that came in were like, then what's going to make me grow? What's going to make me reach for more? Well, if you realize what you're holding, you want to let it shine. You want to unleash it to the world, because you realize that the risk of failing is nothing compared to the tragedy of not showing up with that beautiful light. So tonight, Be'ezus Hashem, we're going to try to say goodbye to our shame by first owning our true self, our neshama. Now, last week we talked about identifying beliefs that contradict or deny our dignity. And someone shared that she's having a hard time. She said, when I'm feeling disempowered, I'm having a hard time identifying that belief, recognizing, okay, so what do you mean? My feelings are so big, I don't even know what I'm thinking, right? So to answer that question, because I'm sure many of you have it, I know that I had that question. We can only notice what is off key when we know the music very well. When I know a song very well, when I know a piece of music, and then I hear it being played off key, then I know that it's off key. They say about a very talented musician, I forgot his name, he was once listening to a concert, a 250-piece orchestra, a symphony. And at the end of it, he said, it was missing one of the violins. I think he was the one who wrote the music. He said, there were 15 violins, but the 16th wasn't there. He was so sensitive to music. He knew the music so well that he was able to tell that one violin was missing. So the more clarity we have about our neshama and what it looks like, what dignity looks like, the more we'll notice when one little piece of dignity is being chipped off. So if we want to get better at identifying beliefs that contradict our neshama, the work is to gain more awareness, gain more insight, gain more depth of understanding of what it looks like, let it have more color, let it come alive in more ways. And with that, you'll notice when you're slipping away. Okay, it's like if you're going to a neighborhood that's unfamiliar, you won't notice if you're lost, right? But if you're in your own neighborhood, the minute you look at the street signs, you'll know, oh, wait, I'm in the wrong neighborhood. So we want our neshama to be so familiar to us that the minute we slip out, we'll be like, oh, I'm in the wrong neighborhood. I'm in shame. This is not where I belong. This is not where I want to be going. So the answer to this is to grow awareness of our neshama. And I want to just share a couple of questions. I know we've talked about this in the past, but here are some new questions to ask yourself really every day. Number one, what qualities does my neshama give me? Because in our discussions, I'm always using words like respect and dignity and value. What qualities do you think your neshama gives you? What do you gain? The fact that because you have a neshama, what qualities do you have? What strengths do you have? Resilience? Do you have compassion? What qualities do you have? Do you have patience? That was number one. Number two is, based on the fact that I have a neshama, what are some of the words I will use to describe myself? You know, I always use the word, I'm a carrier of Hashem's light. But the first time I learned that word was because we had a group discussion and we went around the table and everyone shared one word that comes to their mind when they think of their neshama. And someone said, I am a light. And I thought that was so beautiful. I am a light. And that was the first time someone introduced me. That was the first time I thought of using that word of, like, you know, a powerful flow, a beautiful, magnificent, gorgeous light. So think of what words you use to describe yourself based on the fact that you have a neshama. And number three is, if your neshama would be fully unleashed within you, if it would be fully unleashed with all its glory, you know, shining forth in all its majestic glory, what would you do? What would change for you? What would it feel like? What would it be like? Visualize that and envision it. Paint a picture. And all these questions, the goal of all these questions is to paint a picture, get the houses, get the street names, get a feeling, build a neighborhood of dignity. Build a picture in your mind of what this beautiful root, what these beautiful roots looks like. What is this part of you? What is the soul? What is your essence? What is that part of you, the roots, where that's bigger than anything else about you and stronger than anything else about you? Okay, to do that, I want to share one of my favorite tools, number 4. I'm on 4 in the notes, if anyone's following along with the notes. We have, think of your thoughts as a spotlight. Think of the power of thought as a spotlight. You know, when there's a stage and there's a lot going on, and the lights are dimmed, and suddenly, you know, there's a spotlight shining on one character or on one prop or on one detail of the scene. All of a sudden you see that, and now your attention is drawn to that. If you've ever watched videos, you know, they're about to, you know, they show a scene and they want you to know that somebody's watching. So they'll turn the spotlight for a second on the face of the person who's watching, and you'll see them watching, and then they go right back to the other person. So the spotlight turning onto that other person brought our attention. It brought that part of the story alive. It added a detail, it added a dimension that previously we were not aware of. We have 100% control of the spotlight in our minds. We don't have control of all the thoughts that pop up in our minds, but we have 100% control of that spotlight. And we can turn that spotlight whatever we want to focus on. And whatever we do focus on, that will be magnified, that will be strengthened, and that will become much more alive and close. We will feel much more connected to whatever is in the spotlight in our minds. So use that as a tool every single day. Consciously choose what you put in that spotlight in your mind. Choose what you display. And in all of this, I think one I was trying, as I wrote this up, I was thinking of, like, what helped me. And I think one of the biggest thing that helped me own my dignity is speaking with people about it, having people to speak to about it. Even this group right here, it's such a blessing. It's such a gift to be sitting down on a regular night when you could be in 100 other places doing 1,000 different things, right? And we're sitting and talking about this, even if you do nothing, which I don't recommend it, because if you do something about it, if you actually take 15 seconds a day to say my Da'ani and all the ideas that we're talking about now, right? If you do them, you'll gain so much more. But even if you do nothing, a little bit, just listening to the conversation, it does something to you. But how much more so would you gain if, like, you're in a conversation in a room with other people? It really makes such a big difference. So speak with your friends about your growing awareness. If you have a good friend in your life, that's a blessing. Tell her about your new awareness. I was thinking my neshama is really not just a light. It's like, it sparkles. It's alive. It's not a passive light. It's on fire, a fiery kind of light. And maybe that explains why I'm so passionate. I'm just saying, that's like a little insight, a little bit of awareness. The person from last week, when she shared her story, that struggle, that, oh, I thought I'm about my freezer, and now I realize I'm so much bigger than whatever I could bake, even if I'm so amazing at baking, right? So the fact that she was able to share that with friends is a celebration. It gives it more space, and it anchors it in more firmly in her reality, in her life. So a very big gift you can give your friends, and what your friends can give you, is to be able to talk about this with friends, to talk about your growing awareness, and also to talk about the struggle, because it is a very big struggle. We live in a world that values us for everything external and nothing internal. So, and that's wherever we go, on the streets, in schools, in at work and at home. If you give people what they need, then, or if you have that look, then everything is fine. Nobody really values us for our neshama. Nobody looks at us and say, oh, wow, what a beautiful neshama you have. Nobody talks like that, and nobody thinks like that. But if we want to value ourselves for our neshama, then we have to start talking about it. So just like it's a common thing, we share recipes with friends. I have a new way that I make chicken cutlets, a new kind of salad that my family is really enjoying. And we'll exchange that. I'll share that recipe, because why not? It's so common. I'm praying for the day, and I'm asking each of you to make that happen. I think because we're such a powerful force, us women, we can do this. Let's share our insights with the same and new growing awareness with the same ease that we share recipes. And don't worry if someone rolls their eyes, because I believe that every person today is struggling. Every person needs this. And even if they don't know it, they need it. And you'll be surprised to share, when you share it with a friend who you've never shared it before. Maybe the first time she'll roll her eyes because she's uncomfortable with herself. But everybody is looking for this. Everybody needs true dignity and true security, and a relief from the anxiety that's just rushing all around us. Okay, so let's move on to number 5. Somebody asked a very good question. I'm still not feeling a real connection with my neshama. What else can I do? I'm not going to read her. I summarized it. And here's where I know we talked about this last week, but I want to give you a visual. Sometimes you have a computer and you download something, right? Imagine if you have a computer and you're downloading and you're downloading and you're downloading, but there's a virus in the computer. There's a virus in the system. That bug in the system eats up and destroys whatever you're trying to put in. It's like having a hole in your pocket. You're putting money, but there's a hole in the pocket. You're filling up the cup, but there's a hole at the bottom of it. You're downloading all this positive energy. A lot of people today are into self-care. It's like a buzzword almost. Self-care is beautiful, but if there's no self, then where does all the care go? It goes nowhere. It doesn't actually change us. It doesn't actually make us feel better, because The only thing that actually makes us feel better is when we have a cup, when we have that stronghold, when we have that foundation of strength. Then on top of it, we can download, we can fill up with goodness and positivity, and it will hold. But the only one who can make sure that it actually holds, that we can receive it with grace, and we can hold it as if it belongs to us instead of just letting it go, the way we can hold it is by working on it, developing that dignity. And that's, so sometimes we have to repair the holes. It's not enough to download positive energy. We have to look for the holes in the system. Or if you're a computer person and you use computers, look for the virus and get rid of it, scan it for viruses and get rid of it. So whenever wherever in your life you notice that you're not feeling, that you're not good enough, or you're less than, and that means you're about to go into a situation and you're about to go into a room filled with people and you suddenly feel overwhelmed. Oh my, I don't know anyone. Or you're about to walk into a wedding and you look down and your tights have a run. Okay. What are you going to notice? That sense of shame, and don't just push it away, and don't just run away. Don't ignore it. Look at it for a minute, process it. Ask yourself, what is this emotion telling me? Because every emotion has a voice. Every emotion has a voice. Every emotion tells us things. Some emotions are liars. And if we just listen to them, in other words, some emotions speak lies. They're not liars, because the fact is they are there. And if you try to, suppress it and just ignore it, I believe it doesn't work, because it's still there. We're just fooling ourselves, right? Obviously, in a moment when you're in a rush, you can't do this all day, but take time at least once every day, whenever you create that time. For some people, it might be while you're washing dishes. For some people, it might be, before you go to bed. For some people, if you can find a few minutes to walk, that's a beautiful time. Whenever it is, while you're eating, notice, listen to those voices. Listen to that. What is that emotion telling me? I felt upset. Okay. So what was that upset telling you? It was saying you're an idiot for not noticing that you weren't wearing normal tights. Okay. So now, well, so what? Right. So maybe I am. Okay. So what then? So, well, then you should be ashamed of yourself. Well, why? Because something's wrong with you. If you can't, really, something's wrong with me. I did 100 things right today, and I happen to be the reason. You know why my tights have a run? You know why? Because I was so busy and I got dressed, and I was doing so many things, and suddenly I got dressed in the dark. I didn't want to wake up the baby who's sleeping in my room. So all of a sudden, if you listen to the voice and you follow it and you have a conversation with it, it really could. That's what you need to do. We have to get to the root of that virus. We have to get to the root of where the hole is. And the only way we can do that is by listening to the voice of our shame and our insecurity and our social anxiety and our fears, and follow it and have a conversation with it and be curious about it. And it says, well, you're not good enough because you burnt the cookies. Why couldn't you just take the cookies out one more minute sooner? Everybody else, no, really? Does that make me a bad person because I couldn't get the cookies out? Does it make me a bad mother because my kids are fighting so much? Is that really what makes me a bad mother? Or are kids fighting because that's what kids do, and they're not finished products? And yeah, I'm teaching them, but they're still learning, and they're gonna be learning Emir Hashem till adulthood, and even through adulthood. So these are the kinds of conversations. Okay, this person asks a very detailed question. Social anxiety. She wrote that she's a very social person, but she really feels afraid, intimidated when she gets into talking to people. And so the intimidation is so big that it causes her mind to freeze in a certain sense. And then she finds herself stumbling over her words and coming off awkward. So, and that's really, I'm sure you can all relate to that, right? When we feel awkward, we do awkward. When we feel less than good enough, we do less than good enough, and we aren't good enough. And our shame becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So how could dignity help us get over our social anxiety? And everybody has social anxiety, okay? We have an underlying fear of being seen and exposed as not good enough or worthless or shameful. And you know, if you're afraid of going somewhere because you don't know anybody who's there, and you're not gonna you feel you're not gonna have your security blanket attached to you, right? You need to by a wedding, if you're not sitting to next to exactly the right person, and you're gonna be, your whole evening is gonna be ruined. Or if you're in a small group and you want to say something but you're too afraid to share your thoughts because it's public, right? Or you're intimidated because you're in the presence of people who are maybe smarter or richer or more accredited or more accomplished in some way. You think they're better in some way. All of these things are social anxiety, and all of them are worth exploring and worth noticing, because our dignity can help us get through those moments so that we don't have to avoid these experiences anymore. We can lean into our dignity. We can tap into that. We can let it carry us through. And we could, I want to share something. Where I'm coming from with this is, I used to, when I spoke, I had the position of public speaking for many years because I worked in a school, right? So I had to get up in front of a crowd. But here's what it looked like. I would do this, okay? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I literally, whenever I felt embarrassed, I would laugh a lot. And it wasn't because it was funny. I still smile and laugh, but I do that when it's funny, not because I'm really uncomfortable. I try not to say so many times. I'm not stumbling over my words. And I realized that in retrospect, part of my mind was babysitting other people's opinion of me. I couldn't speak because part of my mind was busy worrying and imagining wait, that person has a really bored look on her face. Okay. I must be really boring. Oh no, what am I going to do now? Wait, that person looks okay, good. She's good. I would be busy babysitting other people's impressions of me. And that was so destructive. I couldn't be in my message. I was in other people's heads. So to get out of social anxiety and to get out of our shame in social situations, I wanted to share four such things, four such tools of what really works. Number one is stay out of people's heads. It is unsanitary to be in anybody else's head. Don't babysit other people's opinions of you. And this is not just for public speaking, it's for anything. Don't worry when you walk into a room and you're wearing a new dress. Don't be busy thinking what other people are thinking. Just be in your own skin. That was number one. Number two is a line that helped me very much when I was intimidated by people who I thought were quote unquote much better than me. And I really wanted to absorb this. I would think this in my head. I would be like, okay, I am not better than anyone else, and nobody is better than me. I am not better than anyone else, and nobody is better than me. And that would help me get onto a level. That would help me level and just engage to that person as an equal, because we are all equals from the place of our neshama. We're brothers, we're sisters, we're one. There's no hierarchy. There's Kohanim, Levi, and Yisrael. There's a hierarchy in terms of, getting called up to the Torah and what we're going to do in the Beis Hamikdash. But there's no, between us women, flesh and blood, there's no hierarchy. There's nobody better than me. And I am not better than you or anybody else. So a good visual for that is, imagine you're walking we want to be walking on solid ground, okay? We want to be walking on solid ground. And that means level with other people, level with everybody. There's nothing that gets in my way. I am not different than you. I am not more special than you. I am not worse than you. There's nothing that divides us. We're one. Nothing could get in our way. When from the perspective of our neshama, what we have in common is always much bigger than the ways that we're different. We're really one. Nothing stands between us. So that to me is a visual for like relating to other people from a place of dignity and not from a place of shame. Means we're level. I'm not better than you. You're not better than me. And now we can have a friendship. Now we can have a relationship. Okay. Where what happens is sometimes if I don't feel my dignity, you know what I need to do? I need to climb up into a high tower and look down at other people and protect myself from being real and authentic and having mistakes and having weaknesses and faults and failures, because I am me. I don't have that, right? And in the high tower, when you live in the high tower, you love gossip because, you know, I know the truth. I'm not good, but at least I'm better than that person. I don't do that. Look at them. Look how disgusting they are. At least I don't do that, you know. I'm good. I'm good. So we climb up into the high tower where we analyze other people and roll our eyes at them and laugh at them and make fun of them and notice their mistakes. And that's a high, and that makes us feel good because at least I'm not like them. I'm here. They're there. Okay. So if you find yourself looking down at anybody, noticing their mistakes, turn the spotlight of your mind inward. I am not better than you. You are not better than me. Get onto that ground and relate. We're all in this together. There's nothing that divides us. So that person had different opportunities than you. That person did not have the opportunities that you had. That person has different, it's all, whatever we have doesn't make us better. And whatever we don't have doesn't make us worse. It's all a blessing from Hashem. And with that, I also want to share, not going into the pits of like, you know, hiding in our insecurity and our fears. I'm not going to be good and I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to show you that I could sing, because I'm not going to sing because if I raise my voice, you might not like it. And you're going to think I'm weird. And it's going to be so awkward. If I speak up, you're going to notice that I'm not as smart as you thought I was. And then I'm really going to be a failure. Okay. So these are all very, very real things. In the pits, we're less than other people. In the high towers, we're better than other people, but they're all equally wrong. And that's why the Baal Tanya said the 4 most disastrous words a person could say is mi ani, uma ani, who am I and what am I worth? Because only from that place of owning our true self. What do you mean, who am I and what am I worth? You're Hashem's daughter. You're a carrier of his light. Your worthiness is indescribable. You're infinite. So we want to notice when we're going up and notice when we're falling down and come back to that beautiful ground. Okay. And number 4, it's not I didn't number these. They're bullets. Here's this. I in a book that I read, it was actually called, I think it was called Mindless Eating. There was a company that does experiments about how people eat. So they created this restaurant where college students would come in, and there were secret things going on, and they secretly were monitoring different habits and eating patterns that people have. And they use that data, that information, to sell to companies to how to set up stores and how to package restaurants and how to package food, etc. How to set up restaurants and package foods. So one of the experiments that they did was this. They had a table. 4 bowls of soup were on the table. 2 of the bowls of soup, very, very small little tube was embedded, a tube was embedded like a straw at the bottom of the bowl of soup was embedded, and it went through the table and under, like through the center of the table and underneath the floor, and it went to a vat of soup in the kitchen. So as the person was eating soup, the plate never got empty because it was attached to this bottom. It was literally a bottomless bowl of soup. It had no bottom. They never finished that bowl of soup. It always, as they took a spoon, it was constantly replenishing itself because it was attached to this vat of soup that was constantly being refilled. And I love that visual. And I keep it in my mind a lot because, you know, when there's a bottom of the bowl of soup, by the way, the social experiment proved that people feel full when they see the bottom. Okay, when you see that bottom of the full, you got to the bottom of the bowl. Now you know you had a full plate of soup, and you feel more full. So that was just that's that. But our invented self is always needy for more. As long as there's more to be had, we'll be eating. Okay, and if we don't see the bottom, we're gonna keep eating. We need. There's a part of us that's always hungry for more validation, more approval, more likes. As much as we have, it's never enough. That's our invented self. What we want to do is we want to enter social situations with a conscious awareness that we are attached. We are fueled by an infinite light. And when we give love, we can replenish ourselves automatically. We're attached to the source of all love. It doesn't cost us, when we give from that place of infinity, it doesn't cost us to smile. It doesn't cost us to give a compliment. We're not looking for, okay, wait, did that person give me back? You know, did that person do something? No, we live from that place of infinity. And instead of looking for handouts, we could be a giver. If you're ever feeling socially anxious, this is one of my best things is things that I refer to most often when I'm feeling socially anxious, then I'm like, okay, Shterna, stop being a needy person looking for handouts, because we all have those times that we get into that space where we're feeling needy, and it comes with wasting our time and not being productive and not using our strengths and not learning and not doing our spiritual work and not connecting and not really, you know, not soaring. We don't have our engines on, or our engines are on, but we're not going anywhere in our lives. And then we have the times when we're in the giving mode. And part of being in the giving mode is we're learning, we're growing, we're thinking about, you know, the direction of where we want to be going. We're not wasting so much time because we have what to do. Our mind is not idling in nonsense, because our mind is idling in the share that we just learned, the Torah that we just studied. You know, that's where when we're idling, that's where our mind goes. So we all have times in our lives when we're more needy, and everybody needs. This is not, you know, we all need friends, and we all need love, we all need connection, we all need people goodness. I'm not saying that we never need to take. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the overall picture of how do I see myself? Do I see myself as a giver, or do I see myself as a needy person looking for handouts? And I keep going to this visual of walking into that wedding hall and you don't know a soul, and maybe your dress is different. Okay. You know, from the place of, oh my gosh, people are going to think I'm weird. From the place of being a needy person looking for handouts, my mind is like thinking, okay, so that person thinks I'm weird. That person, oh, you're Shterna Ginsberg, I listened to your classes. And I'm thinking, okay, now she's looking at my dress, and now she thinks I'm weird before I just killed it in this relationship. You know, and then I'm like, Shterna, what? Stop being a needy, you know, taker looking for handouts. That's not what this is about. You can be a giver. And all of these ideas are really intertwined. So let's just wrap them up. I am not better than you. You are not better than me. Get into the level ground. Don't babysit other people's minds. Don't even take a cookie from other people's heads. Don't even look at their plate. It's rude to look at what somebody else is eating. It's much ruder to look at what somebody's thinking. It doesn't matter. It's not our business what somebody's thinking. If they want to share, they'll tell us. So that's really how we can, and consciously think, what can I contribute? How can I give? Instead of thinking about, you know, you see, when I tell myself, well, stop thinking about what they're thinking, then that makes me feel like, you know, if you say, stop thinking about the purple elephant, all of a sudden you're thinking about the purple elephant, right? So stop thinking about what they're thinking makes you think about what they're thinking. The only way to turn away from what we don't want to be thinking about is to turn on what we do want to be thinking about. And so what we do want to be thinking about is, what can I contribute? How can I give? How can I be there for somebody? What difference can I make? What need is there in this room, you know, that I can contribute to? Okay, I'm skipping all these. We're going to go to the takeaway messages. I'm skipping all this stuff. I'm not reviewing, but I put them on the sheet because I think it's good to review it. So to review, we spoke about the spotlight in your mind. Notice that spotlight in your mind. Whatever is in the spotlight takes up more space. So consciously choose what you put in that spotlight and choose dignity. Choose it for yourself and choose it for the people in your life. Instead of noticing what's not good, notice what is good. We women, we're fixers. We're fixers. We notice what's broken because we like to fix the world. But you know what? Every day, you know, consciously, at least twice a day, 3 times a day, consciously turn the spotlight in your mind to what is not broken, to what is whole, to what is complete. And not just in your house, but in your heart. What did you do right? Don't just look what you did wrong, look what you did right. And give that gift to other people. Consciously put it on the spotlight of your husband, your sister, your children, your friends, your neighbors. Anyone who's blessed to be in your life deserves that spotlight of dignity. So notice the spotlight in your mind and choose dignity. And the second thing we talked about today was talking about this work with other people. It will help you make it real, because whatever we talk about takes up so much more space. And besides for that, you'll be contributing to developing a world where this becomes part of our regular conversation, a more connected world, a world that's more consciously aware of Hashem's presence, or to say it in the language, you know, a geula world where Hashem is more revealed, where our neshama is spoken about with openness, with a sense of clarity and direction and practicalness. That's not a word. Okay. And number 3, practice the download and override, right? It's not enough to download. Learning a shir is not learning a Torah class, reading a good book, even listening to this, it's not going to help you fix the holes in your cup where your dignity is supposed to be complete. Okay, listening to a thing, downloading a share, even thinking about Maida'ani, thinking about the words that you're saying, it's not enough. You need to, we all need to consciously repair the holes in your cup. So notice when you're feeling anything less than absolute dignity. Notice that when you're feeling even the slightest bit of shame, and I know that some people don't relate to the word shame. Use whatever word works for you. Not good enough, less than other people, intimidated, afraid, or afraid in a social setting, meaning afraid of what people are going to say, a little bit insecure. All of this is shame. That's all the sisters and cousins and the family of shame. So it's not enough to download the positive energy. We need to override, consciously override. And the way to do that is by having those conversations with ourselves. And the last thing is, we talked about 3 very clear ways to grow our dignity. Number 1, walk on solid ground. I am not better than you. You are not better than me. I'm not better than anyone. And nobody is better than me. Okay. Intimidated. If you're feeling intimidated, not if, when, consciously plug into infinity. Put your feet onto the floor of infinite force of light and goodness, or plug your heart, your heart is already plugged into that infinite source of light. Just take off the cover that's concealing your awareness and notice it, that it's there. You have an infinite source of Hashem's light within you. Live, engage from that place. Tap into it. Let it give you dignity, courage, resilience, security, confidence, all the goodness that you want. And number 3 is stay away from babysitting what other people are thinking of you. And notice when your mind wanders into other people's heads, and just keep coming back. Keep coming back into your own head. And then let's go back to review what we learned from the story with Basi. Let's remember that shame is not an extra cherry on the top to get rid of when you're done all your other spiritual work. Okay, when you're done davening, now I give tzedakah every day, now I have to get rid of my shame. Shame gets in the way of every single thing. It's toxic. It's really poison. Whenever you're feeling shame, it's a voice of a lie. It's a lie because it's poison, and it presents itself as our friend. So what we want to do is, number one, be a light. I wanted to share this, and we'll do it next week. Okay, this is too long for now. Take 100% responsibility for your behavior. Be brave. Notice when your fear of not being good enough is dressed up as a logical reason to stay away from growing, learning, and contributing to the world. Give space for other people to process things in their way, to be in a bad mood, because it's not about you. When you're not feeling attacked by the other people, by the other person, you can actually relate to them with compassion and with real love and connection. Their bad mood doesn't get in your way of having a meaningful day. Okay, here's a good question. Since we all have a neshama that is part of Hashem, when we're tuning into our neshama, what makes us different than anyone else? What are we supposed to think of in particular that is unique to us? Or are we not supposed to think of our uniqueness? I love this question, and there's never been a time when we shared this that somebody did not ask this question in different words. Okay, if I'm all the same, if we're the same because I have a neshama, then what makes me unique? What makes me different? So first of all, I want to say that, you know what? Being unique actually is not what makes you valuable. Your neshama is what makes you valuable. Okay? So we have in our world, we say every snowflake is unique. So every person is unique. So that's what makes us special, because there's nobody else like me. But to me, honestly, that doesn't talk to me, because, okay, so there's nobody else like me. Fine. So let there be nobody else like me. That doesn't make me feel valued. That's not really, being unique, first of all, is not our value. Our value is because we're part of Hashem. That's our value. But what does make us different? And how can I be better than, what do I want to strive for? Right? What's my goal? Instead of being different from other people and comparing our value and deciding that we're good because, looking down from the tower, I'm actually better than that person in that way, and I'm better than that person in that way. So that's what makes me uniquely special. Okay? Our specialness doesn't come from being different than other people. Our specialness comes from showing up with our light shining more bright than it did yesterday. Showing up with less shame and more dignity. Showing up with true awareness of Hashem's empowerment of us, and less of our toxic negativity and insecurity and social anxiety and thinking that we're not good enough and holding back, right? So that's where we're going to be different. We're going to be different from ourselves. We're going to be different from how we were yesterday and how we were the day before. We're going to be different, and that's going to be better. We don't have to be different. We don't have to be uniquely different from other people to give us value. We have to be different from ourselves. And that's just so beautiful. And really, that doesn't take away from being unique from other people, because you anyways are unique, because nobody has your exact challenges. Nobody knows your insecurities. And as much as someone said before, how do you know exactly what's going on in my heart? I know we all share the challenges, but the truth is, a very, very big part of our lives, our deepest, strongest, fiercest battles and our most glorious moments are always going to be between us and Hashem. And nobody's going to know about it. But that's what makes us unique. Nobody has our challenges. Nobody has the fight that we need to fight. And nobody has the blessings that we have. But we know it. We know it. And that's what makes us, so we are different from other people, but that's not what makes us better. What makes us better is, there's nothing that makes us better, because you can't be better than Hashem. But what makes us stronger and what's a good goal to what's worthy to strive for is let me try to show up with more of that dignity, with more awareness, with more connection, with more compassion. Okay. There's some really beautiful comments. Thank you everybody for this comments. It's so nice. There's a whole Fabringen going on here. Let me talk about it for a minute, okay? And somebody else asked this question. They said, whenever I listen to these classes, they're so inspiring, and I really, I'm gaining so much, and yet many times it puts me into a bad mood because I feel like, why can't I just be there already? Why can't I do this? Why can't I get to that place of real dignity? Why am I still struggling in the mud when there's such beautiful sunshine out there? And what you're saying, I think, is similar. Like, how could I not beat myself up for not being there? I want to be very honest and say, I've been working on these ideas, practicing them for, I don't know, I'm teaching it for 10 years already, okay? And I'm practicing it for probably 15, and I'm not there. I still struggle. I still find myself in puddles of self-pity and victimhood and indignity and shame. I do, because we all have a Yetzer Hara. Okay, ask the people, ask my kids. You know, this is not, as much as we go out of Gullus yesterday, today there's a whole new level of Geula to strive for. Or much as our neshama is infinite. So as much as I discover the beauty of my neshama's dignity and my neshama's light today, tomorrow there's a whole new level waiting to be discovered. And I thought I said goodbye to my shame yesterday. Guess what? It's got a whole new look today. It's got a new costume, a new agenda, a new lie. Yesterday it was covered up and came in this costume. Today it's coming in this costume. Yesterday it came and said, you're not a good mother. Today it's telling me, you know what? You're doing this for so long, and look where you are. You're still stuck with shame. My shame is making me feel ashamed of myself. It realizes that's the costume that's going to work. I want to share something important. When Avram Avinu was going to the Akedah, we learned, the Medrash tells us, that on his way to the Akedah, the Satan wanted to stop Avram Avinu from going to the Akedah. And so the Satan presented itself as a body of water, as a lake, directly in Avram Avinu's path. Hashem said, go down this road, go up that mountain, go down this road, up this mountain, and there I will meet you, okay? And that's where the Akedah is going to be. And in that exact path where he was supposed to be going, where Hashem told him to go, there's suddenly a body of water. And Avram Avinu went through that water. And when he got to a certain point where, you know, when it was up to his nostrils, that's when the water dissipated and it became nothing. And the Medrash says the Satan presented itself as a lake. So I was thinking about this story, you know, we always talk about it. The Yetzer Hara comes dressed. Do you think the Satan came in a Purim costume? You know, dressed like a body with a body of water, meaning like, I'm a lake and I'm dressed. It wasn't fun. It was, Avram Avinu experienced it as a real ocean. It had real water. It had real depth. It had rocks. It had fish. It was a real lake. There was no way in the world he could walk past it. But he knew that if it's in my way of what Hashem told me to do, it is nothing but the Satan. And so we need to know, if it stands in the way of our dignity, it is nothing but a lie. It is nothing but our Yetzer Hara, dressed up not in a Purim costume, because we would recognize it in a Purim costume. And today there's very professional Purim costumes. It's not dressed up in a Purim costume. It feels real. It's like it has reason. It has logic. It has depth. It has breadth. It's got, it's got a whole system going, a whole set of reasons to prove why you should now get into bed or sit down and park on the couch with a bag of popcorn or a tub of ice cream, a bar of chocolate, something to read, escape the world, and just forget about it. Give up. Because who cares? Who cares? You're never gonna, you're nothing anyway. What's the point? What's the point? So let's remember that whenever anything that gets in the way of our dignity, it's gonna feel as real as the lake or the ocean that Avram Avinu encountered on his way to the Akedah. But it's gonna be nothing but the Satan. And when did it dissipate? When did it disappear? When was it proven that it's nothing? Only when he walked as far as he could go. So we gotta walk as far as I can go. Defy that shame. Defy that anxiety, that social anxiety. Defy it. Okay? It's nothing. Don't give it credence. Don't act on it. It is all a bunch of baloney. It's poison. I'm just going to repeat it for the recording. Someone's asking, how does all of this coincide with the fact that Yaakov Avinu said, when he was blessed by Hashem, he said, "Katanti mikol chasadim." I feel small because of all the kindness that Hashem bestowed upon me. I feel small. I feel undeserving. So shame and being undeserving is two totally different things. Okay, every single bless, and I think that what he was saying, "Katanti mikol chasadim," is exactly the same thing as dignity. You see, many of us think that shame means dignity means I am good. It's not the I that's good. It's Hashem is good. And I am nothing but Hashem's light, so I'm good. But we all, when it's about me and it's not about Hashem, then I'm really not, then I'm not good, then I'm nothing. So to the extent that I'm plugged into Hashem for real, that's to the extent that I feel that's what we're talking about. That's the unshakable and untouchable, and I'm going to say unstoppable empowerment and dignity and worthiness and value that we're talking about. We're not talking about the invented self. Oh, I'm so good because I made a good cake. I'm so good because, I'm strong. I'm good enough because I convinced myself enough. It's not about convincing ourselves. It's about plugging into the truth, becoming more deeply aware of the truth that was always there. So now I'm a carrier of Hashem's light. It's his light. I'm going to step aside. I'm going to push it, get out of my ego, get out of that invented self, plug into that infinity. And now, where do my blessings come in? Like from that perspective, every single thing, when we're very much aware that we are designed, defined, and powered by Hashem, we're also aware that our blessings and everything we have comes only from Hashem. And we feel grateful for all the blessings, all the brachas that we have in our life. I'll never forget, my father told me this story, and it was once on a Shabbos when he was struggling with a lot of physical pain. And he was, he was bringing about pain the whole day. But he told me the story of a chassid who really suffered in his life. He had so many things in his life, so many situations that we could consider the opposite of blessing. And that chassid wrote a letter to the Rebbe saying, I am so concerned, I am so worried, because it says that Rishaim get goodness in this world, and then they get the bad stuff in the next world, and tzaddikim get good stuff, get bad in this world, and they get the good in the next world. I am so worried that I'm a Rasha because my life is so good. My life is so good. I'm worried. Now, his life was not good by anyone's estimation. He struggled with financially. He had shalom bias problems with his every level where people could struggle, he struggled. He had challenges and he had real pain. But in his life, when he looked at his life, he was so blessed because everything was a blessing. Everything was a bracha. When we wake up in the morning and we say, thank you, Hashem, for opening my eyes. And we feel blessed because we opened up our eye, because Hashem opened up our eyes and granted us the gift of eyesight. we say, wow, thank you, Hashem, for allowing me to stand up straight, upright, that I can actually get out of bed. It's a miracle. Thank you, Hashem. And we really feel blessed. And we count our blessings. Wow, it's overwhelming. Wow. But when we're not aware of Hashem's presence in our lives, and we feel like we're a self outside of Hashem, then, oh, why don't I have it good? Like, oh, why don't I have this? Oh, why don't I have that? So real plugged into Hashem and kataynti mikol chasadim is, I really don't see a contradiction, because it's not about deserving. It's about appreciating that, wow, Hashem is giving me so much kindness. I don't deserve this kindness. I don't deserve to carry this great light. I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky. What a gift. It's all the same. Okay, our conscious self, and we have a neshama, we have an invented self, our ego, our nefesh habahamis, and then we have our conscious self. Our conscious self is that space where we are aware of being a being. Okay, where I am a self, I am a someone. Okay, it's my conscious self that says, oh my, I'm so blessed to be carrying this light of Hashem inside of me. I am so blessed to have Hashem's blessing in my life, and I feel undeserving. What am I? I'm just a body. It's not. Do you hear? It's the conscious self that says that. It's not the neshama's voice that's saying, I am so small. I don't deserve Hashem's blessings. It's our conscious self that says, oh, wow, I am so blessed to be carrying a neshama. That's part of my blessings. To have Hashem in my life, to know, to have bitachon, to have Hashem as a real presence in my life. That's our conscious self. When we say, Elikai neshama shenasata bi, Hashem, the neshama that you put inside of me. Who's the me? Is there a me other than our neshama? Yeah, it's our conscious self. We don't deserve good. We don't deserve bad. It's not about deserving. Every yid, from perspective of deserve, every yid deserves an abundance of brachos ad bli dai, like infinite brachos. Every single one of us deserves the best. There's no question about it. Like, of course, doesn't give it as a question of galus. It's a question. We're going to get it, and it's going to be revealed. But when there's a hayom yom that says, when it matters of gashmias, if you want to feel satisfied and you want to feel whole and complete, then whatever you have in your world, and whatever blessings you have, always look at, when you want to see how much you have. Much is always a number, and number is always going to be relative to other people, right? So never compare to what other people have more. Always compare to to people who have less. And when it comes to matters of ruchnius, always compare to people who have more. You could always feel blessed. You can always feel overwhelmed. You could always feel overwhelmed by Hashem's kindness. Anyways, it's a good thing to think about more. And I'm sure you're going to be thinking about it more. All right, my dear sisters, have a wonderful night and a beautiful Shabbos Nachamu. It should be a double Nachamu for every single one of us. Hashem should comfort us with the Beis HaMikdash. That's the only true comfort that we are waiting for, and may we have it for real. While we're waiting, let's embrace that time by really saying goodbye to the shame, opening our heart to taking in the worthiness, the dignity that is our neshama's light, and let's carry it with strength and a sense of pride, and let's let it shine.